My name is Michael Gallegos. I work and live in Sebastopol, California, and this is my HEUER Carrera signed by Abercrombie and Fitch. The first automatic chronograph ever produced in serial, and it was outfitted specifically to Abercrombie and Fitch because back then they were a sports outfitter. Only one of the best. And Jack HEUER had a really good working relationship with the folks in New York where Abercrombie and Fitch was based, and they sold watches through HEUER with their logo on it. So it's a double stamped watch, and it's just something hard to find. I was intrigued by it because I'm an outdoorsman. I really enjoy being outside and going camping, and certainly that spoke to me when I saw the double signed HEUER Carrera, for sure. I got this watch last year, probably 9 months to a year ago, and I actually found it on eBay. And some guy didn't know what it was, had sent it to HEUER to have it serviced, but didn't know, I think, a whole lot past that. And I definitely have been into watches for a long time. I absolutely was already a collector by that point, and this was just another piece in the puzzle for me. I love HEUERs. I love double-signed watches. I really enjoy sports chronographs, especially from the golden age of motorsport too. Absolutely during all the racing, back with Emerson Fittipaldi, Jackie Stewart, all those mainstays in the 70s. And that's exactly the chronograph that they were wearing back then between the Autavia and the Carrera. A couple of things really got me into watches. First and foremost, it's just an extra layer of protection for anybody who needs a security blanket for knowing what time it is or knowing how to do things more analog, a little old school. You can't always rely on technology. So I'd always used a watch growing up as just another way to be safe. In addition to that, you grow up and you have different hobbies, and one of mine is racing. And certainly all the different racers back then wore sports watches, and a lot of them were HEUERs. So I was really into watches from that point moving forward, which is why I also have a Abercrombie & Fitch Autavia dash timer from the 50s as well. My dad definitely also really enjoys watches too. He was also one of the people that really got me thinking about watches to begin with. And he has a very modest collection, has a quartz tag HEUER. I didn't necessarily know it at the time when I started looking at racing chronographs, but he also has a really awesome 50s Omega, just a little Seamaster calendar. And a couple of other little beaters that he wears on a day-to-day basis, a little Seiko, something he can take to the office. It's just something that's fun, it's passionate, because, I mean, there's all kinds of different watches for different purposes. But he was definitely the guy who really got me thinking about watches from a younger age, for sure. But at the moment, it's just 100% me looking for stuff that I love, and certainly watches is one of them. Just like wine, it takes a lot of effort and skill into making a handcrafted product, or something that was, you know, back then there were no computer-aided designs and drawings. So it took a long time for people to come up with this kind of stuff. It was years before people could create an automatic chronograph, and I was attached to that watch because of that as well. A couple of things stem to mind immediately when I think about how cool this watch is. One of them is certainly that it's double signed, the rarity. I have only ever seen maybe a couple that were double signed by Abercrombie and Fitch as an 1153 Carrera. And the other thing that I think is great about it is strictly just the horological relevance to the watch world, because it's the first automatic self-winding chronograph back in the 70s, fighting the Cold War. I definitely wear it as a weekend watch. I wear it as something when I'm, you know, off of work and going out. Because I'm packing a lot of wine, shipping a lot of wine, and doing a lot of physical lifting, I don't really like to wear a lot of the old stuff at work. So I do have a couple of beaters that I wear all the time. Shout outs to Seiko for that, for sure, because they're killing that game for sure. I definitely like to wear these watches after work hours for playtime. It's one of the first things that I go to for sure, because I know nobody else has one. I've never run into anybody with 1153 signed by Abercrombie. This is a super sweet timer. Because I've never seen another one like this. And it came with the original document that was actually sold by Abercrombie and Fitch in 1958, which is pretty rad. And it's a dash timer for rally car drivers. I actually just recently acquired it from somebody back in Connecticut, I think, of all places, and I don't know how they got it, but finding anything that's double signed by HEUER and Abercrombie automatically is rare. And then finding one from the very first year that these dash timers were made is even rarer. And then finding one in nearly mint condition is also extremely rare. And there's very little pitting, it's almost spotless. It's incredible the way this thing was aged. And once again, it's all about the rarity, it's all about the use. It's a tool watch through and through. It was meant to be used and abused and ridden hard and put away wet. So I'm very excited to have it. It's gonna make a great desk clock for me, or something that I could show to guys who are total nerds like me. I play with it all the time, and time my coworkers and make sure that they're doing everything that they need to be doing. A great value prop for me is honestly another watch that I actually own and wear quite a bit, which is a poor man's HEUER. And they come in kind of all shapes and sizes and forms, but even if it wasn't made exactly by HEUER, a lot of these Panda off-brand chronographs are incredible value. They all run almost the exact same movements inside, usually a Valjoux. This one's got a 7733 in it, 30-minute register, just a super cute little watch. And it goes great with everything. This is just a super sweet value prop right here. And I know that Christian got called out on it by not knowing exactly who made poor man's HEUERs and what we're labeled as. So it's fun to shove it in his face again, for sure. I have this really, really awesome old 40s Gallet. This is from either 40 or 41. This is something that I put on a beautiful brown leather strap. Certainly you can find those at Theo Harris as well, I'm sure. It's an awesome Valjoux 71 powered watch. Cream of the crop back in the day, all stainless steel case, square pushers, all original dial, original hands, blued hands. Very cool watch. I picked that up in Germany back earlier this year and ended up just completely falling in love with it on the spot. Easily outwatch 90% of guys in any room. Got a telemeter scale on it as well as a tachymeter scale, so it was clearly thought of as kind of a watch you could use in the field, unfortunately, kind of during World War II especially. But it somehow survived this long, so I love to continue to wear it and show it off and make sure that it gets used and stretch its legs out a little bit. As everybody knows, stainless steel chronographs are like the watches to have right now, and they're really skyrocketing in price. So these old Gallets are killing it right now in the market. Really cheap watches for what you're getting. Another one of my absolute favorite watch brands is Universal Genève, as a lot of people love it. And I've been looking for a tri-compacts for a long time. I don't care if it's in steel, don't care if it's in 18 karat gold. And unfortunately, somebody got to one of them before me online, and I was really disappointed, was walking around with all kinds of cash, ready to buy a Universal Genève tri-compacts, and never could get one. And I ended up just roaming around, checking out other watches, and found that Gallet. It was almost like love at first sight. It was just a really, really nice pickup. Still look on that lookout for the Universal Genève, but haven't found one yet that's in nice enough condition that hasn't been redialed or anything like that. I have an unrealistic Grail Watch, and I have a Grail Watch that I think I might be able to find one day. And certainly the unrealistic Grail Watch is to find a Patek 1518 in steel. Probably won't ever happen, but there's a couple that may be unaccounted for somewhere in some guy's safe in New York, you never know. But with regards to, I guess, a more obtainable gold watch that is definitely on my radar that I've been looking for a few years now is probably an old Abercrombie & Fitch Seafarer. Once again, made by HEUER, kind of relating back to that outdoorsman kind of lifestyle and thinking about when the tides were coming in, talking about the moon, and certainly what the best time was to fish and hunt, which is pretty outdated nowadays, but definitely a really, really cool concept back in the day when everything was a little bit more holistic in approach. Being blessed by being in California has really allowed me to continue to be outside. Anywhere I go, we've got mountains, we've got the beach, we've got the desert. Because of my work, I kind of live out a little bit farther away from the city, and it gives me a great opportunity to just do a lot of coastal hikes, and I end up going out and visiting redwood forests, and it's just something that I can just disconnect myself from the electronic world, and watches are definitely part of that. All these watches are strictly mechanical. They have got nothing else winding them except for me. I work at Red Car Wine, which is an awesome small coastal producer out here in Sonoma, California. It's a young brand, but I've been in the wine industry for about 5 years now, and it's such a multifaceted, career opportunistic field to be in. And I strictly get to talk to people about wine all day, and also drink a lot of wine professionally. Being born and raised in California, I'm telling you, my parents had a more European approach to my upbringing. We were allowed to drink wine during dinner, especially for holidays and when people were over. It's always been around, and I've always loved handcrafted things that take a lot of human effort to make. Like all things, you pretty much just fall backwards right into where you end up probably belonging in the first place. I was a jazz musician by trade. I still actively play a lot of music. I do tutoring, but certainly never thought about wine as an option until I actually went to Australia and spent a while over there. I'm learning about their wines and totally fell in love with the whole process of making something from start to finish. I originally started playing guitar back as a very young teenager, 13, 14 years old, and was immediately stricken by blues at first, which kind of morphed into jazz as well. My teacher was actually a flamenco artist. I ended up playing a lot of flamenco with him as he was teaching me the ropes. That stemmed into bossa nova as well, which is Brazilian jazz, and it's still a huge passion of mine, but wine is just too hard to give up. Well, the Australian wine scene is very young. It's adolescent. They don't have a lot of people living on that continent, so it's a lot of mechanized farming and not necessarily taking shortcuts, but they definitely don't have the same amount of availability of small lot handcrafted wines like we have out here in Napa and Sonoma. A lot of these wines that you see over making their way from Australia are usually a little bit cheaper, but they have some really, really awesome higher end options too. Australian value props, I'm telling you, if you want something that'll knock your socks off, you have to try Australian Semyon. It's a white grape. It's like capturing lightning in a bottle. That is something that will blow your mind. I love when people ask me this kind of stuff because I'm an equal opportunist. I drink wines that are screw capped, which is almost every Australian wine. I drink wines that have synthetic corks, and I drink wines that have real corks. And to be honest, almost everybody's not gonna be able to tell the difference, to be honest. I mean, there's not enough of a difference for me to tell if you're drinking young wine to be able to justify the price difference between synthetic and natural cork. You see the biggest difference between screw tops and any other type of cork. So I'm all for it. You get 2 thumbs up for me. I love synthetic corked wines. Bring it on. Aging wine, you want to have real cork. It's just better. It's all natural. It's very porous, so it allows the wine to slowly oxygenate and just change over time. And when these wines get oxidized, their flavor profiles completely morph into something different. So if you're thinking about laying wines down longer than 7 or 10 years, that's when really kind of the natural cork will start to benefit quite a bit. I would say never try the same bottle twice. There's hundreds of thousands of different wines out there, especially if you're in a major city or close by to one with that great bottle shop. If you try new bottles every single opportunity you get, you will have a great palate for good wine. There's a great small little winery actually just south of here that does incredible things and is totally changing the industry. It's called Windgap. You can find a lot of their wines under 35 bucks. One of my particular favorites is Soif, and Soif is a carbonic wine that is super interesting and super fun to drink, especially when it's hot outside like it is today here in California. Yeah, I have a total value prop because I brought these out specifically to back up the fact that I ended up posting about those wines on Theo Harris. These are wines from Beaujolais. It will completely change the way people drink wine in the next 3 to 5 years because these wines are playful, they're fun to drink now, they will also age, and if you're near Manhattan or the north end of Boston, you will find these wines in every good restaurant. Every good somm loves Beaujolais. And because I was repping Beaujolais on Theo Harris a few months ago, I have to pull through and make sure the audience knows that I also drink it on a day-to-day basis. So you can find Foillard's Fleury for under 50 bucks, and you're drinking world-class wine that's competing with Haut-Brion, that's competing with Domaine de la Romanée-Conti. You're buying wine that is punching way above its weight class. And that's my biggest value prop out there for you East Coast folks, for sure. I've got pet peeves in the wine world. This is bullshit. You don't ever hold your wine glass like this, okay? It's always by the stem. It doesn't matter where, you just never touch the bulb of that glass. It gets all oily and fingerprinty, it just looks stupid. It looks terrible. You look like an inexperienced wine drinker. It's another one of my pet peeves is people who hate Chardonnay because it's a total bullshit answer. There's 1,000,001 versions of Chardonnay out there that you gotta try, and there's one out there for everybody. Another terrible poster child is Riesling. Everybody hates Riesling because they think it's sweet, but Riesling would blow you away if you had it with a little spicy food. I know those Puerto Ricans up there in New York got some crazy spicy food. You got to take a bottle of Riesling to your next feast at 2 in the morning when you're at that Puerto Rican joint. If you just want a foolproof way to pair food and wine together, think of wines that have really good acid to them. Pinot Noir is a great one. Certainly most white wines like Chardonnay, like Riesling, those are great options as well, but you want to have your mouth watering for sure. You got to match the intensity of the food with the intensity of the wine. Big powerhouse cabs, great. You can, dick your way around into any, social circle you want with all these like bottles of Mouton and Lafite Rothschild and everything, but they're so inaccessible to so many people. Another great one too is honestly sparkling wine. Sparkling wine kills it. It's fresh, it's invigorating. I drink it every single day, and it's something that not enough people drink enough. They think it's a special occasion wine. They need to be pairing that with everything that they eat. Doesn't matter if it's a salad, doesn't matter if it's a steak, you always have a nice bottle of sparkling wine in the fridge at any given moment.